The midnight office is one of the canonical hours that compose the cycle of daily worship in the Eastern Orthodox Church. The office originated as a purely monastic devotion inspired by Psalm chapter 118 verse 62. At midnight I arose to give thanks unto thee for the judgments of thy righteousness, and also by the gospel parable of the wise and foolish virgins. The name of the midnight office is sometimes erroneously translated as Nocturns, but this is misleading, as in the West Nocturn refers to a division within the completely different office of Matins. Originally, monks would rise in the middle of the night to sing praises to God. St. Simeon the New Theologian mentions Psalm chapter 118, who a significant component of the midnight office on weekdays, being said privately in the cells before Matins. Today, in most places where the daily cycle is observed, the midnight office is combined with Matins and the first hour into one of the three daily aggregates called for in the Typicon. Concerning the midnight office, St. Mark of Ephesus says, "The beginning of all the hymns and prayers to God is the time of the midnight prayer. For, rising from sleep for it, we signify the transportation from the life of the deceit of darkness to the life which is, according to Christ, free and bright, with which we begin to worship God. For it is written, the people who sat in darkness saw a great light." The general tone of the office is one of penitence, tempered by an attitude of hopeful expectation. In the Russian tradition, the midnight office often begins with the reading of the morning prayers in common, which otherwise would be said privately by the brethren in the cells. At the conclusion of the midnight office, just as at the end of Compline, it is traditional in many places for everyone present to venerate the icons and relics of the saints that are present in the temple. In Greek prayer books, a modified form of the midnight office is used for morning prayers for laymen, while a modified form of small compline is used for evening prayers. Structure of the service. The midnight office can be divided into four parts. Opening, the usual beginning prayers that open most Orthodox offices. A blessing by the priest and prayers by the reader, including the Trisagion and the Lord's Prayer, ending with the call to worship, "O come, let us worship God our King." First part, Psalm chapter 50 and a Kathisma from the Psalter, Nicene Creed, Trisagion and Lord's Prayer, followed by the Troparia and prayers, concluding with a blessing by the priest. During Lenten services there follows the prayer of St. Ephraim. Second part, O come, let us worship, and Psalms 120 and 133, followed by the Trisagion, Troparia of repentance, an intercession and a blessing by the priest. Conclusion. Next follows a mutual asking of forgiveness between the priest and all the brethren. Then the priest says a litany during which everyone slowly and quietly chants, "Lord, have mercy," concluding with a final blessing by the priest. At the present time, the midnight office will take one of four forms, depending upon the particular day: weekdays, Saturday, Sunday, and a unique form which is observed only on Holy Saturday as part of the Paschal Vigil. Weekdays. The distinguishing feature of the midnight office on weekdays is the reading of the 17th Kathisma, comprising Psalm chapter 118, the longest psalm in the Bible, in the first part of the office. The Troparia chanted in the first part of the Troparia of the bridegroom. Behold, the bridegroom cometh at midnight, recalling the parable of the wise and foolish virgins. The first of these Troparia is also solemnly chanted at Matins during Holy Week, from which the Matin service on these days derives its name of bridegroom prayer. Saturday. On Saturday, Psalm chapter 118 is always read at Matins as Kathisma, so here it is replaced by the 9th Kathisma, comprising Psalms 64 to 69. The troparia in the first part are different from those used on weekdays. Before the second part, a special prayer of St. Eustratius is read. Sunday. On Sunday, Psalm chapter 118 is often read at Matins, so it is not read at the midnight office. The psalm is normally replaced by a canon to the Holy Trinity, composed by St. Theophanes, according to the tone of the week in the Octoechos. Since the Sunday services, which celebrate the resurrection of Christ, are normally longer than the weekday services, the midnight office is shortened. The Nicene Creed, troparia, and prayers from the first part as well as the entire second part of the service are omitted. Instead, after the canon, special hymns to the Trinity by St. Gregory of Sinai are chanted, followed by the Trisagion, the Lord's Prayer and resurrectional hymn called the Wiparco in the tone of the week. The prayer to the Most Holy Trinity by Mark the monk is read, and then the mutual asking of forgiveness, litany and dismissal. In the Russian tradition, an all-night vigil is celebrated every Sunday, and so the midnight office and compline are usually omitted. In some places the midnight office is read on Sunday morning before the little hours and divine liturgy. The Greeks do not normally celebrate an all-night vigil on Sunday, so they read the midnight office in its usual place before Matins on Sunday morning. Holy Saturday. On Great and Holy Saturday, the midnight office takes a very particular form in which it is celebrated on only this one night of the year. Holy Saturday is often the only time that the midnight office will be read in parishes. It is the last office found in the liturgical book that contains the services of Great Lent, the Lenten Triadion. The office is read around the epitaphios, a shroud embroidered with the image of Christ prepared for burial in the tomb, which has been placed on a catafalque in the center of the church. After the opening and Psalm chapter 50, the canon of Great Saturday is chanted as a reflection upon the meaning of Christ's death and his harrowing of hell. During the last ode of the canon, the priest and deacon carry the epitaphios into the sanctuary and lay it upon the altar, where it will remain throughout the Paschal season as a reminder of the burial cloth left in the empty tomb. Then a brief litany is read and the priest says the dismissal. All lights in the church are extinguished, and everyone waits in silence and darkness for the stroke of midnight, when the resurrection of Christ is to be proclaimed. Due to the all-importance of the Passion and Resurrection of Christ, the midnight office is not read in church from Thursday in Holy Week until after Thomas Sunday, except for the Paschal Vigil. If the office is chanted during this time, it is done so privately. If one reads the midnight office privately during Bright Week, the format used is that of the Paschal Hours.